Hey all, this is NTom, and welcome to a special Christmas-themed edition of NTom Opens Up. Hope you all are having a good one. Thanks for making time to actually watch this video, because it is Christmas Day when this goes up, so I imagine you all want to celebrate with your families, or whatever it is you choose to do on this particular day. You might not even be celebrating Christmas, but hey, thanks for watching anyway. What I'm opening today is actually something a little bit special. This is the Sonic the Hedgehog Countdown Character Advent Calendar thing. It's by a company called NTom, and essentially, instead of like chocolates and treats and whatever in each day, there's actually a small piece of a figurine. And I'm going to go through these and basically build it as we go. I'm going to do the first three with live commentary. Then I'm just going to switch to the same style I used to build the Lego Sonic Green Hill, which you can just see back here, because I want to go into my full thoughts on Sonic Prime, the first 8 episodes, which I just finished watching. I really enjoyed them, but the media thread's not enough to contain my Sonic power. Well, my Sonic power level. So we will do that, and in the meantime, why don't we open up some of these? Comes in a nice fancy little drawer and whatnot, as you can see right here. And number one's a pretty big sucker, so let's get this out. There we go. What's in number one? It is the stand. No, not like Star Platinum or the World. It's a big old icicle stand. That's pretty cool. So we're just gonna pop that there. And I don't think oh well, the back of the box actually has instructions, so I'm on the right track so far. Let's go ahead and chuck this stuff down here. My room is a complete mess. I do apologise. Hopefully it won't show up on the actual thing. Now I have to find two. There it is. It's another big piece. Bada big. And in box number 2 is the next part of the stand. You don't need any glue or anything like that. It just all clicks together. And again, back of the box, very simple, easy to follow instructions. So, just click it together. I'll find you. Oh yes, I will. There we go. Slots in, easy as you like. And now we go looking for number 3. I imagine it's all, like, in separate ones. Okay, that's 4. 4 and 5. So number 3 is here. Make sure the stand doesn't go arse over tit onto the floor. Pull number 3 out. If you can, Tom. Come on. I tell you, weak as a bloody kitten I am sometimes. Alright, there we go. Number 3. More of the stand. Yep, there we go. This is where the actual figurine will go. So, this goes, I would assume, on top. Yeah, that seems about right. It's coming along nicely. So, that's the first 3. Now I'm going to go through these while discussing my thoughts on the first 8 episodes of Sonic Prime on Netflix. Enjoy! Alrighty, Sonic Prime. This is going to be a pretty quick build, so I better speak quickly, as it were. Just a heads up, the fact that this is not built by gluing parts together means that it can be very flimsy. So I would find a safe spot wherever you want to store it, and make sure, you know, it's immune to shocks and whatnot, because that sonic body is mostly being held up by gravity, as I found out the hard way. Anywho, Sonic Prime. This is definitely a show, I would say, aimed at younger Sonic fans, and that's probably not what everyone wanted. But at the same time, I never really felt the writing veered into feeling childish, and I never really felt like the plot stuff was a bit too dull. They struck a really good balance here, and a big part of that is helped in part due to the new cast, and that's basically because it's a Canadian joint. There's some law and such over there which requires them, I believe, to hire Canada-exclusive VAs. So yeah, we have a new Sonic in the shape or voice of Devon Mack, and I gotta say, he's up there with Ryan, Jason, Roger, Jaleel, and that one dude from the OVA whose name I can never remember. And we also have Brian Drummond as Dr. Eggman, who strikes a very satisfying middle ground between Dean Bristow and Mike Pollock. And if that name sounds familiar, Brian Drummond, it's because he was Vegeta in the Ocean dub of Dragon Ball Z, which is pretty cool. Just comparing this to, like, other animated Sonic shows, the one that would probably come to mind first for y'all is Sonic Boom, mostly because it's CG animation. But I would say the fluidity of the animation, the way they handle action, just alone is far superior to anything that Boom put out. I wouldn't say it's my favourite Sonic show yet, because we've only had 8 out of 24 episodes. And there goes Netflix again, most likely splitting a 24 episode block into 3 seasons without paying the writers more. Great stuff. But besides the plot being a little bit generic, like Sonic must go to Jungle World or Pirate World and so on, it's actually kind of enjoyable. Like I said on Twitter, they're doing a lot with a little here, and while the first couple episodes have some really funky pacing, and I don't think the Jungle World needed to be split into 2 episodes, they basically have like a setup episode and a conclusion episode for each world. It's going pretty well so far. My only hope is that they really push the multiverse concept, like, in the next batch of episodes. That would be great. I'm already enjoying Sonic and Shadow's beef. Like I said, I'm enjoying Shadow and weirdly Rouge a lot in this incarnation. They say that it's canon to the main games. I don't really buy that because there's too many inconsistencies. But otherwise, yeah, I'm pretty happy with Sonic Prime overall. There was and still is a little bit of discourse surrounding Sonic's characterization, but I think this is mostly like because we just had Frontiers, where Sonic was really well written, he was mature, he was level-headed, that going back to kind of like a more impetuous, cocky, super energetic version of the character is a wee bit jarring. But for me, Devin does such a good job with what he's given. I find Sonic just extremely endearing. I like him being a bit of a fuck-up. We know this is going to lead into him becoming a more mature version of the character, because I think the original description for Sonic Prime as a show talked about a journey of self-discovery and redemption, and given Sonic broke the Paradox Prism and created the Shatterverse to begin with, yeah, I think there's a wee bit of redemption coming for the Blue Blur. And one last thing. It seems like each version of a character we see, Nine, Dread, etc., seem to embody one facet of the original's personality. Maybe that's what happened to Eggman. He split up and just formed the Chaos Council. Because they may seem like one-note characters, but combine those traits, and you might find something a bit stronger and eggy, if you will. You know, if a universe can shatter into different pieces, why can't a character as well? Just something to think about. There we go. The build is complete. Once again, make sure you set it in a stable place, otherwise that shit's falling apart. Alright folks, it's time for the mega Q&A backlog, so let's get to it. Okie dokie, here we go. As per other Q&As, you may start to see familiar names pop up again and again. This is just because these are backlogged questions, so stuff from like April onwards. So yeah, here we go. Question number 1. comes from Ronald D. Rankin. What games are you wanting the most to get announced for the rest of 2022 or the beginning of 2023? Honestly, everything I've wanted to be announced has been announced. You know, we've got Zelda Tears of the Kingdom coming next year, looking forward to Hogwarts Legacy. Something Sonic related would be pretty cool, but I don't want them to rush anything, you know? Frontiers came out recently, high profile release. A smaller game would be nice, like a 2D platformer sort of thing, but everything I've wanted has happened. The rest will just be surprises, I guess, so I'm looking forward to 2023 in general. It's going to be a pretty sick year for games, I believe. Especially, just came to me, with stuff like the Battle Network collection. Oh, I can't wait to play that, because I've only played Battle Network 6. Obviously, we have a playthrough of that on the channel with Helldragon, so you can go check that out if you want. And I'm finally going to be able to play 1 to 5 in a very comfortable manner. Thank you, Ronald, for your question. Next question is from Goldmember. If you had the choice to move to a different country, where would you want to live? Probably either America or Japan. I'm kind of leaning more to Japan right now, just due to, and this is very stereotypical, but the amount of gun crime in the US. It doesn't strike me as the safest place to live. But then again, the UK has an epidemic of knife crime, so fuck me, I guess nowhere's safe. That's my answer to you, Goldmember. Nowhere is safe. Nowhere. Crazy12 Eric asks, who's your favourite rare blade in Xenoblade 2, whether it be gameplay or design-wise? I cannot remember his name, but he's big, buff, and a bug. And everyone thinks he's so scary and violent, but I know he has a heart of gold. Thoric? Something along those lines, name-wise. But he was often in my party. Very useful blade. Shadow Reaper asks, if you turned into a fish, which fish would it be? What an odd question. Is a shark a fish? I need to figure this out. Is a shark a fish? Sharks are a special type of fish because their body is made out of cartilage instead of bones like other fish. The classification of this type of fish is Elasmobranch. This category also includes rays, sawfish, and skates. I want to be a hammerhead shark, because hammerhead sharks are my favourite kind of sharks. Thank you, Street Sharks, and thank you, Shadow Reaper, for your bizarre question. Moving on to May now. Shadow Reaper again. You become impervious to damage, but you have one very silly weakness. What is it? Parmesan cheese. Specifically Parmesan cheese. Don't ask me why that type of cheese, but no one will be able to guess it. No one will suss it, and no one will see me coming. Oh yes. Ronald D. Rankin asks, what were some of the games that were revealed during this Summer Games Fest that you were thinking of picking up? Oh, I gotta go back a ways now. Was 2 Point Campus announced during that? Because that looks pretty good. I've been meaning to pick it up, because I enjoyed 2 Point Hospital. You know, so many different games to play right now. I'm kind of spoiled for choice, honestly. Goldmember again. What are your best and worst games for 2022? Ooh, I would say my top 3 is Neon White, Sonic Frontiers, and might be Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope, honestly. They were all pretty great. As for worst games, nothing really. I usually don't end up finishing games I dislike. I try to remain optimistic and, you know, filter out the stuff I wouldn't care for and aim more for the stuff that I do care for, you know? That's May done. Now, for June. Ronald again. Name a few things you would like to see in Kingdom Hearts 4. Drives, like Valor Form, Wisdom Form, etc. Good selection of worlds. Moana would be cool in there. Coco. And thirdly, better pacing. It's one thing that's let Kingdom Hearts down since Kingdom Hearts 2, it's the pacing of the story. Let's have a nice mid-game climax. I'm just saying, it will help pace things out much more smoothly. Shadow Reaper again, since the Sonic-a-thon 2 is happening right now, wow, this is going back a ways, let's ask a relevant question. If you could be in charge of remaking one Sonic game that you consider bad, what changes would you make? One Sonic game that I consider bad. But that would have to be stuff like Rise of Lyric, or just stuff like Sonic Blast. Not 3D Blast, but Blast. I guess for Blast, I would just, you know, update the tile set, the sprite set, whatever, make it more akin, looker-wise, to, you know, Sonic 1, Sonic 2, etc. fixed the physics, because I think like the bosses and whatnot are pretty cool in that game design-wise, so really it's just the look and the physics that are kind of letting that thing down. Goldmember asks, what are your favourite and least favourite Sonic Special Stages, 2D and 3D? Favourite, I would have to say Blue Spheres, but in S3 and K only. The Knuckles Chaotix one is pretty good. Some nice platforming in there, I really dig the style. Mania's special stages, the proper ones, the 3D ones, they're pretty neat. Like chasing after the emerald and whatnot, it's a lot of fun. Oh, if we're talking like fan game stuff, I would say the regional special stages for Triple Trouble 16-bit are pretty neat, because the originals were like these pseudo levels where you have to solve a puzzle to get the emerald. Didn't really feel that great. These new ones are more like a race, which is a lot more fun, I'd say. I guess if we're talking worse ones, Sonic 4 Episode 1's version of the spinning maze just really didn't feel that great. Then again, what did in that game? Meh. Alright, that's June done. July now. Goldmember asks, what was the last game you were looking forward to so much that it took over your thought every day until it released? Probably Sonic Frontiers, and I'm happy to say it mostly delivered. There's some scuff here and there, for sure, and, you know, if I were to be objective, quote-unquote objective, I would say it's a 7 out of 10. But for me, it did everything right, so it gets an extra point on top of it, you know, in spite of its flaws. So yeah, Sonic Frontiers. Roll again. Are you going to continue your media thread after this year? I've enjoyed reading your thoughts on games, movies, shows and books, and it has gotten me into new kinds of media. Oh, thank you, Ronald. I appreciate that, mate. Definitely. I'm definitely going to do a 2023 media thread. Some of the stuff I'm like currently playing, or, you know, just going through right now, will end up in that, because that's where I will have completed the media, so it will go in that year's particular media thread. But yeah, I love like chronicling what I've done and whatnot. It lets me look back on stuff, especially helps keep me sharp, like writing in such a short format. Granted, we're gonna get like what 5,000 character limit soon on Twitter, so balls to brevity, I guess. But we'll make do with what we have, I guess. Shadow Reaper asks, HFC regularly does a few spooky games for Halloween, and by now you've played quite a few. Which was your favourite, and why? I guess it's always going to have to be Luigi's Mansion. You know, for a coward like me, horror is a non-starter, but that game has such a great atmosphere, such overwhelming charm, and, you know, Luigi is the star for a change, so I'm going to have to go with that, yeah. Alrighty, August, we're getting there, we're getting through it. Ronald asks, what would you say is your movie of the year? Ooh, I would have said like Sonic 2 before I watched Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. That was a cracker. And I just rewatched Klaus. So is that kind of cheating to put that on there? I'm not sure. So yeah, I'm going to say Sonic 2 tied with GDT's Pinocchio, and then a rewatch of Klaus. Shadow Reaper asks, what fantasy class would you add to schools, be it alchemy, monster studies, runecrafting, etc.? I don't know. I don't know what I think. I have a shallow brain, apparently. Stuff like, I don't know, Defense Against the Dark Arts would be very practical, even if it's just like a revamp of Dare, you know, say no to drugs. I think that would be pretty funny. But no, seriously, being able to cast a Patronus would be very useful, especially during the dark times. Goldmember asks, from all the TV comms that you've watched now, which show would you say really surprised you at how good it was, despite its premise sounding not great to you? Probably Cooking Master Boy. I expected it to be a blander version of, like, Food Wars, but honestly I think I ended up enjoying it more than Food Wars, because while it does have its kooky and crazy moments, it's a little bit more grounded, so I care a bit more about the characters and whatnot. You know, there's actually stakes that feel, I wouldn't say realistic per se, because we're still trying to find, you know, magical utensils and whatnot, but they feel more believable, let's say. Alright, September now, just a few more to go. Ronald asks, what is your favourite superhero movie of all time? It's going to have to be Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. It is just sublime. It's an improvement over what I consider to be an already pretty good film in Spider-Man 1, also by Sam Raimi, but it builds upon it in every way that you really want. The stakes are bigger, you know, the drama is better, give or take a few cringe Mary Jane moments, I suppose, and Alfred Molina as Doc Ock is just perfect. You know, I was so happy to see him back in No Way Home. He slipped back into that role like time hadn't passed at all. Godmember asks, out of all the remakes and remasters in the past few years, which have been your favourites? The Live Alive remake. God, that was fantastic. That's actually going to go in my top 5 for this year, I think. In terms of stuff that's coming, Battle Network Collection. Very tasty. Although for other light collections and whatnot, the TMNT Cowabunga one was pretty cool. I mostly picked that up to support the devs, because I felt they did a really good job. But most of the games, not really my cup of tea, although I did enjoy Shredder's Revenge. That was pretty neat. More collections of this quality, please. Shadow Reaper again? What are the types of games you are worst at playing, be they puzzle, FPS, etc.? My worst ones would probably have to be sports or FPS. I do enjoy a bit of rooty-tooty point-and-shooty from time to time, but my aim has never been as steady or as accurate as I would like, and it just kind of lets me down in a team setting, you know? And I don't want to be that guy who lets people down in a team setting. Oh god, am I seeing a reflection of myself in HFC? Hopefully not. Thank you, Shadow, for your question. October now. Ronald asks, what are your top 5 animated shows for 2022? JoJo Part 6 and Sonic Prime, even though I haven't worked through Part 6 fully, and Prime is still ongoing. Mob Psycho just wrapped up, really love that. I rewatched Season 2 of Hilda again, that was fantastic. And I started Primal, which is pretty great, so there you go. Shadow Reaper asks, what is your opinion on trick-or-treating? Well, I can't say I'm totally against it, because I've participated in it when I was younger, so don't want to be a hypocrite there. But also, at the same time, buy your own fucking candy. I'm not a supermarket. But no, seriously, it's a lot more American-centric than it is UK-centric, so, you know, we're a little bit so-so towards it over here. We still celebrate it, but not to the extent that America does. Godmember asks, which of the Disney Plus shows you've watched you thought would be bad but ended up being really good, and vice versa? Well, I hoped She-Hulk would be a fun legal drama thing, akin to Boston Legal and so on. It turned out to be a very self-satisfied, dull kind of thing, where the main character is honestly a little bit unlikable and overshadowed by cameos and whatnot, so, you know, you tried to have your cake and eat it there, but didn't really work out. As for stuff that I expected to be bad, and it turned out to be really good, I wouldn't say I expected it to be bad per se, but I expected it to be underwhelming. Hawkeye, actually, God, they did a really good thing setting that at Christmas. I might actually rewatch it after I'm done recording these like questions and answers, because yeah, very fun. So thank you, Goldmember. And here we go, the last few questions for, well, the final NTom Opens Up episode of 2022, starting with Goldmember. Now we are past Gen 9 of Pokemon. Aside from just giving us a way more polished game for Gen 10, what are some of the mechanics you would like to see or ideas you have for Gen 10? I haven't even touched Scarlet yet, so honestly, ideas are thin on the ground for me right now, Goldmember. Yeah, more stable game, obviously. It would be nice to go to another region, even if it's not like as big as a Kanto or a Johto and so on. Just give us like something extra to explore. I'd accept like a redone version of the Sevi Islands, honestly. Just give us a sizable post-game, that's all I'm asking for. Shadow Reaper asks, if you got to pick the first movie to come out on Nintendo Pictures, what franchise would it be and what story would you tell? I think Kirby would be pretty good, because you could do a lot without saying much, so it would be very, you know, welcoming to younger children who don't have to follow dialogue and whatnot, and, you know, be very bright and colourful until it gets to the nightmarish, eldritch horror that is the, you know, main villain of the whole thing. It is kind of funny how Vinny Vinesauce suggested at one point, I think during his Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope run, where they were discussing like a Mario and Nintendo universe, that like the main villain or the Thanos of the franchise could come from Kirby, and I think that's kind of believable. You know, Kirby's got some weird shit going on in there. Carmen CJ asks, do you really get agitated when someone calls the playthroughs Let's Plays? I did at one point, and I'll tell you for why. At the time, I was a lot more high-strung than I am now. I still am to a certain degree, but I've calmed down a lot, contrary to what you might hear elsewhere. But it was mostly, I felt it was disrespectful to the goons on Something Awful, who, like, did really well-constructed and well-thought-out Let's Plays on games and whatnot. So I didn't really want to call them Let's Plays per se, so I was a little bit, don't call it that, call them playthroughs. But nowadays, I kind of use the terms interchangeably, so thankfully I've, come a little ways to being a little less anal in that regard. Thank you, Carmen, for your question. And the final question of this mega batch is from Ronald D. Rankin. What is one of your most memorable Christmas experiences of your childhood? I think, and this is going to count for a few Christmases, when I got a game for a console I did not have, and my mum left the room and came in with one final present. It doesn't matter if it was like the Super Nintendo or the N64, it was always the same. No, I wasn't the N64 kid in terms of reaction, but those were very warm Christmas mornings for me, for lack of a better term. I used to get, and this is when I was like kind of young, like between 5 and 10, 2 to 3 sacks of presents, because I had a grandma and granddad and my mum, so I was a very spoiled child. I'm thankful I didn't come out worse as a result, not to, blame them for any of my behavioural problems, but, it is what it is. You give a child unlimited presents, they start to expect that every Christmas. They weren't like overflowing or anything, it was just like a lot of big and medium-sized presents, Power Rangers, Pokemon, stuff like that. I'm starting to feel a little bit warm, fuzzy, nostalgic, and a little bit sad for the people who aren't with us anymore, but Christmas is a myriad of emotions, and I'd be remiss in not sampling all of them over the festive season, so thank you, Ronald, for your question. And that'll bring us to the final question of this batch, and that is the final NTom Opens Up of 2022. Please let me know what you guys would like to see me unbox or open in the coming year, be it like cards or figures, etc. And please do pledge to the Patreon and continue to send in your questions, because NTom Opens Up isn't just about the unboxing, it's about me opening up emotionally or logically as well. This is a very pretentious series that I try to keep casual. Bit of a loss on that part, but thank you all for such amazing support on said Patreon in 2022. We are going to go forward with, I guess, our best foot forward. Can you tell these things are unscripted? But yeah, keep an eye out for the end of year video where I'll be discussing schedule changes and how we're going to aim to improve recording, TV comms, movie comms, and other such things. Thank you all, and I'll see you in 2023 for more of NTom Opens Up. Bye for now.